Hello everyone, Don with Resolute Outdoors here. Today we're going to have a little bit of a story time, and so what you're looking at is the very first pocket knife I ever owned. Now this knife was given to me back when I was a scout by my father, who was my scoutmaster. I don't know, I was probably, 10, 11 or so. I'd used knives before, but I never had one that was mine until this was given to me, and all the scouts in our troop, our den, I guess would be the proper term for Weeblo scouts, were given these. And I remember distinctly taking this little pen knife here and cutting up a bar of soap to kind of get practice. You had to do some sort of test, I forget what it was called, to get what they called it, a whittling chip, whenever you were a young scout. But this is the first knife I ever owned. Owned that was actually mine. You can see it's just a super small pen knife. I mean, I have pretty large hands, but that's still a pretty small knife. I think these blocks are 1 inch or so maybe a little bit over 2 inches total on the length. And kind of the features on this, and it's actually a pretty handy knife. Actually, I believe this is a cheap Chinese made version. I don't know what brand this is. There's no branding on it. I tried to do a quick search on it, but I believe Victorinox makes pen knives that have the exact same feature set. And I think for good reason. Like I said, you have your pen knife here. You have a nail file / nail nick here. I can get it out. With your nice, design there, your nice, nail file there. And these little grooves here too, which you can really work your nail on if you wanted to, and your nail nick as well. And lastly, something that I find super useful that I use on my Leatherman Wingman multi-tool every day, is a pair of scissors. Now these are just super small. I remember we had little pieces of paper when we first got these, and we were just practicing cutting with the scissors. Not that there's really that much practice, but whenever you're like 10, 11, it's a kind of a big deal to be able to even use scissors on your own knife. Even after all these years, those scissors have held up. Not that I used it super extensively for the scissors. I used them more for the knife as a child. But look at like the Leatherman, Leatherman Style CS I did a review on, probably a year or so ago now, where the spring broke. This one has held up on this cheap Chinese made no-name knife. They also have this little lanyard hole here, which is nice if you wanted to put it on a key ring or something like that. It's really nothing special at all. I've actually never even sharpened it. I wasn't as good at taking care of my knives back in the day as I am now. And I'm sure my father, our scoutmaster, would have only paid maybe $1 for these back in the day. Probably a lot less. He probably maybe picked them up for 50 cents even. But this kind of knife holds a special place in my heart. It's actually super functional still. It has a lot of the cool features that you'd find super useful in a modern, sleek pen knife, or you might want to take it where you can't have a knife on a pocket clip like my a Buck Vantage that I've done a review on, where you want something a little bit more discreet. This is a good option, and this gives you a lot more capability with the scissors than just a normal pen knife would. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Like I said, just kind of holds a special place in my heart. Really nothing special though. You can kind of see all the wear and tear from all the years of riding in my pocket, and really being up to no good with it, to be honest with you, as a child. So nothing serious, but just scoutmasters are trying to teach you things, and you're just whittling away on a stick, just taking the bark off with it for no good reason. You're just doing it because you can. But that's kind of my story here with this knife. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Please hit that subscribe button down below. Let me know if you kind of like this kind of story format, or kind of just go over something and kind of tell my experience, my story behind it. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. This is Don with Resolute Outdoors. Until next time, I'll see you.